If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know that over the years since over the last 9 or 10 years, I've done many videos here on reproductions and copies of the market, and the reproductions and the copies in the antique market and from the Chinese areas uh, generally follow a pattern of popularity with legitimate pieces. So if suddenly, as we saw when Sungwares were doing so well, the Guan pieces and all that, there was a flood of those into the market, and then when the Yuan dynasty examples were bringing so much money. There were lots and lots and lots of copies of Yuan Dynasty jars popping up everywhere, like they were mass produced at General Motors or something. And there's a new breed of fake coming onto the market, and there's a bunch of them being offered by a company I've never heard of, and I don't think the sale will sell much. This is the company. It's on Live Auctioneers right now. It's called Ulux Art LLC, and they've never had auctions. They've never done an auction. Well, they have one other auction on their list here of past auctions. They don't seem to sell much. I don't know who the name associated with this address. I've never heard of them, but these are the pieces they have. And the headquarters for this little auction house is here. This is the address on the Live Auctioneers form for where this business is. I looked it up on Zillow. It's an 1,100 square foot bungalow in Wyoming on Grant Avenue. Perfectly charming little cottage. Any rate, this is supposed to be the headquarters for Ulux Art, and they sell this kind of stuff. This is one of their pages I found on the internet of listings of things they're selling. I believe this is on estates.com, but it'll give you an idea of what the kind of stuff they try to sell. And I don't think much of it does sell. I think that these are all pieces probably in China or someplace that they're going to sell and then get shipped over, sort of a drop shipping angle of some kind, I suppose, what they're doing. But at any rate, the pieces I want to talk about are hold on a second. These these are not Yongshan dishes. They look like they're 18th century Yongshan plates, very recognizable patterns. Whoever did them had images of originals and pretty faithfully copied them in China when they were doing them. And some of these pieces were also copied. It's sort of interesting to note. The Samson Company in Paris in the late 19th century and the early 20th century also did these kinds of things. So sometimes you'll find them listed as being Samson. But at any rate, these were done in China. They're very nicely drawn. There are a couple of things instantly noticeably wrong about them on the front. One of them is the way the famille rose enamels are applied. They're dropped on and not painted on. They're sort of the wrong shade. But the backs of the plates really tell an interesting story, because the backs of the plates that we're going to share with you here are all the same. They all look like this, and the backs are pretty convincing looking. So don't let them fool you. All right, but this is the back of one of these plates, and this is the back of another one. This is the back to this plate here, which is again another Yongshan style plate in the border in the field and where it's done. You can find these, and these are all plates that, if they're authentic, they sell for somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000, somewhere in there. And then you have this plate here, another one, right? Very, very similar. And you come down and look at the back of it, and you've got the same back again. Now, one of the things that is kind of noticeable about them is you'll see fair bits of orange peel on some of them, which Yongshan plates typically didn't have a lot of orange peel on them. They tended to be very, very smooth. And you'll notice the back is not particularly white. There's a slightly yellowish off-color tone to it, but the foot rim is fairly well done. The shaping is pretty well done. The potting is okay. So they're making a real effort to make convincing copies. And here's this one. This is a very famous one. And this particular pattern, I know was copied by Samson, because I've seen them with the phoenix over this court scene, over this landscape scene, rather. Very well-known type. And there's the back of this one. All right, you're getting the point. There's a trend here, and this is what you're going to find in a number of these. So you just want to. Here's another one. Now this is the back of another one of these plates. It is this one, and here's another one. It's this one, and this is another well-known type here. Again, those red areas just look completely wrong. The drawing is a bit stiff in the way the faces are done and so forth. So I guess the lesson here is just be really, really careful out there in the coming months. You're going to see these turning up. If they're turning up at an auction house that's only done one or two auctions and they have all those other pieces they're selling, these will be turning up in other auction houses, maybe that are general furniture dealers. They handle estates in general, and they're going to start offering these. And truthfully, if these get presented to most auction houses in America, they're not going to have any reason to suspect them as being fakes. And they'll put them up as mark and as or not mark and period, but as period authentic pieces. And how they're describing them is they've done this weird sort of a layout to the materials, porcelain, style, dynasty, Qing dynasty, inscription, and this one says Hongshan mark on the plate. It doesn't have a Hongshan mark on it. So whoever wrote this, it may have been a Chinese speaker writing these listings, and just threw it in. Obviously, it's not a Hongshan era dish either in the style of or any other way. And then you have this one. This is a very famous, these ruby front dishes with the roosters standing in the scroll area. This is a very well-known pattern. I can understand why, if you're going to copy one, you want to copy these. All right. And if you flip it along a little bit, all right, one of the things that's very noticeable where the light is reflecting here on the lower left, you notice the orange peel here is almost ridiculous. There's so much of it. It's like waves of peel. All right, that's not a good sign right off the bat. And then when you flip the thing over, you get another one of these identical backs. So wherever's making them, they're making them in a very controlled environment. And then you have this saucer set with the Chinese boat in it. Again, a very famous pattern, very recognizable and so forth. And it is a fake. Hold on, we'll get to the back of this one. Now, this is a bit of like a small bowl, but there you have it. The same color, glaze, same general type of foot, same everything, but not authentic. Just not authentic at all. Here's another one here of the lady at the table. Now, this pattern here with the woman seated at the table with the children is often done in ruby backs. I don't think this is a ruby back, though. Let me double check. Normally, it's a ruby back plate with this pattern on it. No, it's not. It's just this same white blank back with the same foot rim, the same glaze, same texture, same color. Here's another one. I could go on and on. There's a bunch of them in the sale. There's this one that's very famous European market plate, and so forth. But they're all reproductions. Here's one of, it looks like Governor Duff or something sitting at a table. I don't think it is Governor Duff, but it's some foreign, tradesman, man in the trade probably. They used to depict them on porcelains. At any rate, here's the back of this one. And again, as I said, they're fairly convincing looking. This is the problem, and they're getting better and better and better at doing these. So you can't always, if you just showed somebody the average collector the back of this plate, he'd say, oh, it's the back of an 18th century Chinese plate. It looks like one. In all honesty, it really looks pretty good. All right, that's by design. They're intentionally getting smarter and smarter with these, recognizing they need to make the backs look authentic, not only the fronts. So now you've got a real problem coming in the market here. I see it. I expect to see bowls and plates are the easiest to reproduce, but don't be surprised if we start seeing vases and jars and big bowls, punch bowls, that sort of thing turning up. The ones that sell for a lot of money. One of the things also wrong with this is that the yellow on the robe is much too bright, but the rest of it, the grisaille decoration isn't bad. It's not bad work. All right. And then you have this one of the lotus flowers, and this is it's very attractively done. And there's the back of it again. So you've got 10 or 12 different plates, different patterns, all supposedly from the Yongchen period, the later part of the Yongchen period, and all of them having exactly the same foot rims and backs. All right, that is not possible. There were hundreds of kilns operating in Jingdezhen. Many of them were making China trade export wares for the foreign market, and it's very improbable that all of them would be making exactly the same backs. There's no variations to them at all that I can see. There's very little, and it's the little things like the too much orange peel, the enamels are the wrong colors, and so forth, are going to be your guide to figuring out which is the real one or the fake. But expect to see a lot more of these coming into the market. If they can start to sell these, if they're finding willing buyers, there will be a flood. But at any rate, don't go near them, don't buy them, don't waste your time on them. Because for a long time, people didn't think they copied exportware as much. And I'm here to say they do indeed. They have in the past, but in a very limited way on certain very rare types. It wasn't a constant problem. This is going to become a constant problem if they can find some people that will buy these. And right now, this one, for example, has no watchers. It's opening bid of $400, and the sale is on August 13th. So it's a little over two and a half weeks from now. So we'll see how they do. I've bookmarked a few of the pieces, and I'm going to track them and see what happens. But all of them are copies. All of them are not what they appear to be. Neither is anything else in this sale. So you go over there and poke around a little bit. Don't talk yourself into something. Don't fool yourself about what the pieces actually are. Here are the pieces I just showed you, and then down below it you have some other types. You've got these pretty bad copies of Kangxi marked rose bowls and so forth. These are all reproductions. Every piece on this page is a reproduction, and would be very disappointing if you ended up with it. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So this is just a quick video for that. Be careful. Watch out for copies of China trade pieces now, and along with the copies of transitional and Shushan and Shunzi pieces, and along with all the Ming copies and all of the Yan copies and all of the Sung copies. You know about the Tang copies and so forth. And a lot of pieces now are being sold as Republic when were made in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. There's a lot of that going on as well. The Republic period has become sort of the basket that everybody throws everything into. If they can't sell it as being Qinlong, they just say it's Republic, even though it may well be brand new. All right, because they do that as well. So it's getting very, very difficult out there in the market, I realize, but this is something that I think is fairly easy to avoid if you use a little common sense. All right, so be careful out there. All right, have a great rest of your week, and we'll be back later this week with some auction results. And thanks for watching. Subscribe here if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.